This Week with Bob Mueller on News 2.
This week,
the Covenant School shooting rocked Nashville, and it broke all of our hearts.
a year has passed since the tragedy of the Covenant School shooting. The pain it produced has not.
They're babies and they didn't get to grow up, and it breaks my heart.
Despite a year of pleas from Covenant families for common sense gun reform, nothing has happened.
As far as Tennessee doing something to limit guns, we're not going to do that.
Our state has done nothing to make you safer.
A student protester and a journalist arrested during a takeover of an office on the Vanderbilt campus.
I was arrested at about 5 a.m. In my own university.
And the Supreme Court will decide the future of the abortion pill mifepristone. Hello again and welcome to another edition of This Week. A year has passed since a gunman killed 3 children and 3 adults inside the Covenant School here in Nashville. And in that year, the pleas of Covenant families for common sense gun reform have fallen on deaf ears. The Supreme Court will decide the fate of an abortion pill. But we begin with a student sit-in at Vanderbilt University ending in arrests.
Vanderbilt students gathered outside the Davidson County Jail Wednesday afternoon, cheering on the last member of their group to be released.
I went to jail today. I was arrested at about 5 a.m. In my own university. I was handcuffed, brought in the back of a police car, and taken downtown.
Flashback to Tuesday afternoon. This video shared by Vanderbilt shows a group of students rushing Kirkland Hall, in which the university says a community service officer was physically assaulted. The building was closed. However, members of the Vanderbilt Divest Coalition wanted to make their point with an old-fashioned sit-in.
We've been protesting inside Kirkland Hall to demand that our Chancellor, Daniel Diermeyer, reinstate a referendum to divest our student government funds from a genocide ongoing in Gaza, to listen to student voices and stop the suppression of pro-Palestinian organizers on this campus.
An issue these students say their student government wasn't allowed to vote on. During the sit-in, students say they were denied access to food, water, and bathrooms, resulting in some who had to get resourceful in relieving themselves. That's before 4 of the students were arrested Wednesday morning. One charged with vandalism and the other 3 charged with assault.
Inside was far better than what I experienced at Kirkland. I was given access to water. I was given access to a bathroom. Imagine that. A student going to jail and having better access and more humane living conditions than that of a top 20 university in this country.
They already warned you before.
No, they didn't.
Not today. They warned you in the past.
No, they haven't.
Amongst the chaos, Nashville scene reporter Eli Modica was also arrested. Vanderbilt saying he had been asked to leave and did not have the required clearance to be on campus. The reporter denied being asked to leave, and the scene editor-in-chief called the situation alarming and disappointing. Vanderbilt says the reporter was ultimately not charged. As for the students arrested, the Nashville Community Bail Fund helped pay for some to be released. They hope students won't stop standing for what they believe in.
Like these children who decided to take a stand about something that they believe will be criminally impacted for the rest of their lives, whether we get them out like on bail or not. And so I think it's a horrible lesson for Vanderbilt to send to kids.
Nikki McGee, News 2.
Former President Trump's criminal hush money case is moving forward next month after a New York judge set a trial date.
The trial is now set to begin on April 15th.
I don't know how you can have a trial that's going on right in the middle of an election. Not fair. Not fair.
Trump is charged with 34 counts of falsifying business records. Prosecutors say Trump hid hush money payments he made before the 2016 election to cover up an extramarital affair with porn actress Stormy Daniels. Trump called the timing political and said the trial is rushed.
Judge cannot go faster. He wants to get it started so badly.
Trump had asked to delay the trial until after the Supreme Court decides if he has presidential immunity from prosecution. In a separate civil case, Trump was dealt a win. Prosecutors were preparing to seize Trump's real estate assets because he could not scrape up the cash for a $464 million bond while he appealed the case. The New York appeals court gave Trump more time and reduced the bond to $175 million, which Trump says he can pay.
Respect the appellate division for substantially reducing that ridiculous amount of money.
That payout is part of a fraud lawsuit where a judge ruled Trump lied about his wealth when applying for loans. Trump has said he, quote, did nothing wrong.
The largest crane on the eastern seaboard is now in Baltimore to help clear the wreckage from the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse. No time frame for removal of the bridge debris has been given, but it's estimated it could be up to 5 years before a replacement bridge is built. ABC's Christiane Cordero has the latest from Baltimore.
The devastation from the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge has closed the Port of Baltimore for days. At the crash site, crews starting the painstaking work to reopen the waterway.
Step one of that is we're going to clear the debris from the channel. Step two is we're going to remove the vessel.
The Navy dispatching 4 giant cranes to the scene, hoping to refloat the cargo ship Dolly. Officials say it's a complex task.
We have to get that section of bridge that is resting on the front of that vessel off of the vessel.
That section weighs more than 9 million pounds and will need to be cut into pieces before it's lifted off the ship, according to the Army Corps of Engineers, which escorted ABC News around the wreckage. Sonar equipment helps them see underneath it, inspecting the damaged bridge and looking for debris. Efforts to find the 4 construction workers whose remains are still unaccounted for are complicated today by hazardous materials. According to the Coast Guard, the chemicals are believed to be soaps and perfumes, not an environmental threat. But because of sheen found on the waterway, dive operations and vehicle recovery are on pause. Maryland Governor Wes Moore giving an update this afternoon on this Good Friday.
To go out there and to see it up close, you realize just how daunting a task this is. And every time you take action to move a piece of wreckage, you understand that that requires you to reassess the situation.
One of the massive cranes that's here right now is the Chesapeake 1000, which can lift more than 2 million pounds at a time. It will be a round-the-clock, expensive, and time-consuming effort to clear this wreckage and reopen this crucial port. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Baltimore.
Now to our This Week cover story. The U.S. Supreme Court this week took up the challenge of the legality of the abortion pill mifepristone. A decision is expected in June. ABC's Christiane Cordero has the latest from Washington.
As the nation adjusts to a post-Roe world, another case before the Supreme Court could change abortion access in the states that still allow it. On Tuesday, the Supreme Court is scheduled to hear arguments related to mifepristone, a pill that helps end an early pregnancy. Plaintiffs claim the FDA made the drug easier to access without due diligence.
Women come into these emergency rooms suffering from abortion drug complications, and our doctors have a sincere, conscious objection to facilitating abortion, to potentially ending an unborn life, and those sorts of things.
Mifepristone was initially approved in 2000. The FDA eased mifepristone restrictions twice in 2016 and 2021, expanding the window someone has to use the drug, changing who's allowed to prescribe it, and most recently eliminating an in-person dispensing requirement. The FDA argues each of those changes were done properly.
If you can challenge drug approvals years or even decades after the fact by asking judges to sort of second guess the evidence that regulators have meticulously reviewed, that sets a pretty important precedent.
Since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, 21 states have banned or restricted abortion access. Medication abortions now account for more than half of all abortions in the U.S. Walgreens and CVS started dispensing mifepristone in select locations this month, expanding access. Abortion rights advocates want to keep it that way.
It's just quite hilarious to see politicians who have no medical background trying to make laws regarding women's bodies.
We expect to see an opinion on this case at the end of June. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
Stay with us. This Week continues in a moment.